Hi, so this is going to be a not at all uncontroversial video about parenting and what parenthood can mean for a kid. First of all, I have a very common thing I have to say to parents who are trying to control their kids as if they were their property, as if they were part of the parent instead of their own human being. The main problem was, of course, that they were often overly strict, and this is almost common sense at this point, but strict parents create rebellious kids. When a kid is forced to do something that they don't want to do, they'll try to get their way out of it. When a kid is not allowed something that they don't know why it's not allowed, then they'll just try to get a way around it. And in the worst case, in later life, the parents still try to control or abuse them, or if they've had enough trauma from their parental upbringing, they can go no contact. They can break the relationship with the parents. So I would say the best way to parent is gently and with care. That is, be aware of the kid as their own person and don't try to force yourself on them too much. Now, there are some things that shouldn't be allowed for an obvious reason, namely because it hurts other people. Another core principle that I've heard a lot is the freedom of one person ends where the freedom of another person begins. And if that border between the two people is reached, then one of the people should be expected to speak out about this. So if a kid goes over the boundary of a parent, then the parent should have to speak out about that. But the other way around, if the parent goes over the boundary of a kid, then the kid should be able to speak out about that as well. So it's all about the checks and balances that exist between people, instead of just enforcing arbitrary rules or beliefs onto a kid that they might not want to be a part of. And another big part of good parenting is to help the kid if they have any kind of issues, without expecting anything back from the kid directly. And of course, instead you can expect indirectly that someone who you have helped will try to do something back for you later on, maybe when you have something wrong, or maybe just as an act of gratitude. After all, human beings are, for the most part, social and maybe even altruistic. So in very short, what I would do if I had kids myself, not that I know if I want to have any kids later on, but if I had, I would just let them do what they want, and I would help them with what they're doing, of course, where I can. But otherwise I would try to keep a certain distance away from the kid. Be involved, but don't be too controlling. You know, you can evaluate at the end of the day, but you definitely shouldn't try. You can have a look at what the kid's doing. Maybe you can be a bit involved in it if the kid wants you to be involved in what they're doing for whatever reason. But you shouldn't be, like forcibly trying to get yourself involved in the life of your kid. Don't try to constantly ask or track where they're going, what they're doing, because when you distrust someone, it's very similar with respect. When you distrust someone, they will grow to distrust you as well, especially if you also combine arbitrary rules with this kind of control. Of course, in general, in this kind of framework, how would you introduce kids to something new? Well, just try to show and explain it to them if they seem interested. And if they don't, we'll just leave it there for them to play with, maybe with your help or your explanations about it when they do become interested. Again, we're trying to say that some people think that parents know best who their kids are and what they need. Well, actually, this is a very common misconception, because outside of very specific things like medical, which are very complex even for adults, which is why I have a healthcare system in the first place, in most cases, the person who knows what a given person needs the best is that person themselves, and thus we should entrust them and entitle them to request and to basically just to be themselves. Because in worst case, well, there might be a little accident if you just let them do what they want to, but they will recover and they will learn from it, from their mistakes. Whereas if you try to shelter and belittle someone, the best case is that they won't really learn much of anything and will go into adult life unprepared. And worst case, they might even break the ties with you as a parent, which is so common. There's even an entire subreddit for people who break their contact with someone else in their family. So both for yourself and for the well-being of your kids, I would try to avoid trying to see a kid as someone a part of you. They're not a part of you or a thing that you set in. They're just a person who you just need to let go, to let them be themselves. So with that little conclusion, I see you another time. Bye bye. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do, please give a thumbs up and share this video with all your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.